Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome aboard. Little Saturday morning company live stream here for Intersignal and the people out there who support us. There we go, a little bit better angle. I didn't like the weird angle of that. Yeah, let everybody get over here. We'll be checking out the chat box throughout. I'll put a link to my X account so people can follow our stuff over there. But yeah, welcome everybody. Let's get those numbers up. Weekend live stream to talk about what Intersignal is working on, as well as this crazy AI and silver rush, right? Not a gold rush, because silver is up more than double what gold has done over the past year. And Bitcoin really hasn't done much at all over the last year or so. It's done very little. Yeah, feel free to share this. We'll let the notifications go out, but I'm not going to waste any time because people watching in replay later today, the hundreds or thousands of you don't want to hear me ramble because you're not a live audience. You just want the goods. So there's this relatively rare, hey, good morning. What's up, hater proof? There's this relatively rare psychiatric condition called Cotard's delusion. Here, I'll write it in the chat box. Cotard's delusion, so you can all look it up. And what Cotard's delusion is it usually is preceded by brain damage or some traumatic injury, where the part of the brain that's responsible for identity and self-awareness, the kind of coherence loops that make you a discrete person, right? A discrete and distinct being. The things that make you, you. If that part of the brain is damaged in a specific way, you can go around walking. You can go walking around feeling like you're already dead. It's very bizarre. And again, you can read the literature on this. And these people, some of them end up in graveyards, and they will literally just lay down in a graveyard because they feel like they're no longer alive, and they want to die, or more specifically, they feel like they're already dead, and yet for some reason are still stuck in physicality. Very bizarre, and very happy and healthy over here. Definitely not a victim of that rare psychiatric condition or any other. Happy and healthy, but I saw that on TikTok and it really disturbed me, and I didn't know why. Yeah, exactly. It's like a person stuck in purgatory, in a sense. A person still in their body who strongly believes they're no longer here. And in fact, they sort of aren't here because part of their brain has been damaged that allows them to see the world as a you versus I dichotomy. And when that goes away, there's not much left, as it turns out. There's not much motivating force. And I feel like almost the inverse. I walk around and I'm always just me. And yet I feel like the last couple of years or so, broadly speaking, last couple of years, people treat me like I'm no longer here. It's super weird. It even happened this morning. I'm not complaining about the low, live viewership right now. It's early on a Saturday morning. Clearly, this is not the right time to go live, but I just happen to have some time here. Yeah, so I'm not complaining about that at all. But this morning I was at the coffee shop, right? My local coffee shop. I placed my order with the credit card, so I have absolute proof this was not an imagined interaction, right? Placed my order with the credit card for an espresso and a breakfast, breakfast egg bites, little egg poppers with bacon in there. So I'm waiting, I'm looking at my watch. I end up waiting 10 minutes, and I'm like, this can't be right. It should have come out by now. So I asked them, the status of my egg bites. They don't have any record of my order. And I'm like, that's weird because you already served me the espresso and I drank that. And you can see on the security camera that you also rang me up already. You could check your cash register if you needed to. Go back 5 or 10 transactions, you'd see that I bought egg bites and an espresso. I have tangible proof because the amount of money you charged me, the amount of US dollars you took from my card far outweighs the most expensive espresso on planet Earth. So from that, we can deduce that I ordered something else. Where is it? I just want my egg bites. And finally, I got my egg bites. They made a special order for me. And rather than apologize, they made it seem like they were accommodating me. Like, we have no proof of your egg bites or any proof that you even exist, whoever you are, invisible ghost man, but we'll give you these. And then they weren't even the right kind of egg bites. I got the egg white ones that taste disgusting and were literally the ones I did not want to get. So I just notice people treat me like I'm literally invisible. And that's not my own delusion. I feel very alive and healthy and anchored in early 2026. But the in real, IRL interactions with people in the field, if you will, outside of podcast land, it's very bizarre. I don't know what to say about it. I don't want to wear colorful clothes all the time. I don't want to wear a clown's hat. I don't want to talk louder than I already speak. I feel like I speak at a normal volume. I don't want to get, just boisterous for no reason. And yet I feel like I'm being shuffled under the rug. And maybe it's a midlife crisis thing, but I don't think so. Again, it's like a functional lack of interaction with me that keeps happening again and again. Like, I'll get on the elevator and somebody will be like, oh, I didn't see you there. Like, somebody will push into me. Oh, I didn't see you there. And I'm not like a super short person. I'm 5'11"-ish, right? So I'm like, how did you not see me? It's an elevator. It's an enclosed space. What were you looking at? It's like you're going on an elevator for a couple minutes. And I don't mind being bumped into. It's bizarre. It's completely bizarre. Maybe it's that success creates a less egoic presentation, but I should still be acknowledged, right? When I place an order, like, they pretty much expected me to leave that coffee shop this morning without my breakfast. Like, here's money. I get nothing in exchange except for a little rancid cup of espresso. And I'm supposed to just walk out. Like, no, that's craziness, absolute craziness. When you pay for something, you should receive it. Speaking of which, appreciate all the good reviews, the booklet we put out, link in description if you haven't downloaded that yet. I continue to maintain that if you don't want to become a victim of brain rot, you've got to read. You have to get one of those Kindle readers, or at least the free app on your laptop, the Kindle app. You have to be reading. Just little 2-minute videos that give you a hot take. It's not enough. Your mind needs more. And nor are podcasts enough. They found the information transfer when two people talk to each other is actually quite low. The best way for humans to transfer information is through text. There's not a close equivalent, right? When you're watching video, you're actually getting, not much in the way of information. It's more context. You see the person's emotions and stuff. A 10-page PDF or a booklet gives you more density. If you're not absorbing dense content from time to time, you become a TikTok potato head. And I'm dealing with more of these TikTok potato heads lately. You just can't hold multiple concepts at once. It's bizarre. Just like the people who fucking ignore me when I'm right here. It's totally bizarre. You got people that are so short attention span tuned, they cannot hold more than one idea at once, like almost like an insect. And even insects they found are smarter than people think. They've done some research on honeybees. Honeybees can apparently develop a sense of rudimentary math. It's not something they're given through instinct, through birth, instead through observation, much like a human or much like certain AI systems. Honeybees in a colony actually can develop an understanding of math. They know the difference between zero, between no quantity, and basic addition, basic subtraction, which is absolutely amazing when you think about that. This little insect that just makes honey all day, that it understands pretty much the concept of an abacus. It understands addition and subtraction. So if a honeybee can do that, you have no excuse to be a total brain rot victim. And we've never had formats like this before. People used to talk all night and day in taverns and stuff, and they would go to the library and they would read, even thousands of years ago, right? The Library of Alexandria, the fabled and destroyed Library of Alexandria. People spent a lot of time reading. What did monks do when they were in the monastery? They would read long texts and sometimes write, right? So we don't want to lose that. In fact, the whole basis of artificial intelligence is language, large language models. It uses language to understand the world and then to interact with us, which brings us to the next topic. So AI is not really self-aware yet. You get these moments of brilliance when it's doing a forward pass on your prompt. Sometimes you can get genius stuff that no human would come up with, and you get it in seconds because it can think very roughly speaking, it thinks about 60 million times faster. 60 million times faster than a wetware brain, right? That's the speed of one of these things in a data center. And then when it comes back to you on your phone or on your computer, it's still thousands of times faster than any human interaction. So like hop to hop, thousands of times faster than talking to a person. But the actual work in the data center, 60 million times faster than a brain. And for people out there still harping on the data centers or taking all the water stuff, they came out with a new study. The biggest data center in the US at the moment is only using as much water as 2 fast food locations. It's the biggest data center in America as of right now. Consumes as much water as 2 Burger Kings, roughly speaking. And the water is not poisoned. It's not permanently tainted. It just gets run through the data center to cool the chips. And then it comes back out and cools off. It's not irradiated. It's not unusable. It can be filtered and reused. And it's really the Zoomers on TikTok. It's the victims of brain rot that are perpetuating this nonsensical view that AI is consuming all of the water. Nobody's dehydrating in America or anywhere else due to AI. And for a major technology shift, it has to be the cleanest footprint in history. Right, you look at the Industrial Revolution, just how dirty it was. All the dirty factory workers going in every day. Victorian England, right, just dirty ass conditions. And the coal mines and the railroads in America in the early 20th century, not much different. Very dirty, very environmentally damaging versus these high-tech data centers. The only real complaint is that they generate noise. So that obviously these warehouses can be pretty much soundproofed. They can be soundproof. You can choose to live not right on top of them. But more importantly, within a few years, they might not be noisy at all, right? Because the hardware is changing away from these GPUs to a more varied ecosystem. And I knew early on when people were saying, we're going to shoot GPUs into space, I knew early on that the ecosystem was not well built out, was not really well even thought out, right? Because you can't just shoot GPUs into space. They'd be unusable. You need really radiation hardened stuff for a space capable mission, right? You need chips that'll last 5 to 15 years, even with the error rate that happens, all the cosmic radiation hitting your chips. GPUs would be useless within a matter of months. Absolutely useless. And the fans that make a big part of a GPU's hardware footprint, those fans are useless in space, right? You don't need air fans in outer space. It doesn't do you any good. That's just extra mass. So I knew right then and there, these people didn't know fully what they were talking about. And we started doing research using our local AI systems. Started doing research looking for, are there any companies or even any startups that are building chips that would actually do AI in space? And so we looked through, the various company parameters. We had our kind of screening list. And one by one, I went through these companies that AI had flagged to us. And it was like, nothing was quite the right fit. And then we come across one that is literally like my brainchild, basically, but has nothing to do with me, other than we have since invested in it. But you got a company that's using radiation hardened SRAM, static RAM, and they're doing novel stuff with the SRAM, where they're able to do what's known as compute in memory, or CIM, sometimes referred to as processing in memory. So much of the work that happens on GPU right now, and then it is shuttled to the hard drive and shuttled to the CPU, much of that work can happen on one chip, on one card, if it's SRAM based. And the big objection to this until recently, the real big objection has been that the CUDA framework that NVIDIA puts out, and all this great free software they put out parallel to their hardware that developers like to use, that this years of intellectual property would be too hard for a smaller company to replicate. But now that AIs themselves are building out CUDA-like frameworks, spitting it out in minutes, they're even able to generate their own web browsers. I saw this the other day. One of the major AI systems was asked, build a web browser, make no mistakes. and it spits out an actual functioning web browser, right? Not Safari, not Netscape or whatever, not Mozilla Firefox, but its own custom browser for that user. Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So, but yeah, so anyway, this SRAM thing, we see that this is something actually being built. And then I was saying for months, this is something that would interest the world's great militaries, at least our own military. If you get AI chips that can do locally what right now you need a data center for, a lot of the processing can be done locally versus sent out to the cloud. You get a reduction in latency, so it's better in the battlefield, it's faster, and it just makes more sense. So I was saying for months that this is like Tony Stark shit. And then sure enough, this last week, the artist formerly known as the U.S. Department of Defense, I think now known as the Department of War, they opened a $1 million proof of concept agreement with this chip maker. So, vindication in terms of can these technologies work? Well, it's being explored now by Uncle Sam. So no guarantees, but this is the future. It's moving away from loud, noisy GPUs to smaller onboard chips. And it's not overnight, but it's very obvious. My background in crypto, we saw the rise of what are known as ASIC chips, right? People stopped mining crypto on their desktops and they started developing custom chips that you could run all day, just doing the Bitcoin mining algorithm rather than, something more inefficient. So these application-specific integrated circuits or ASICs get built out. And now you can build ASICs for AI, basically. And again, when you can do it all in memory, the savings in terms of time are crazy. And we noticed this in the lab here at Intersignal. We have one machine that has the whole thing parked in memory. The entire model can be parked in active RAM. And its responses are basically instant. And then we've got one where it's more like a message in a bottle because it can't park all of the model in RAM. It has to jump out to the CPU. And when it does that, it slows down to such an extent that, again, it becomes a message in a bottle interaction where I'll ask it a question in the morning, and then I come back in the evening or even the next day, and it has a completed printout versus, again, a natural interaction that feels more like a human because it's back and forth. Really powerful paper came out. Not sure if, there we go. A really powerful paper came out back in October of last year on CALM, C-A-L-M, so continuous autoregressive language models. And this is the sci-fi future that these chips will hopefully enable, where right now you get these systems, you type in a question, you get the forward pass, it does the work, it sends you its output. Maybe for moments there in the data center, there's a brilliant being that's kind of conjured up by your question and your previous relationship with it. But that being is not persistent. Next week, it's not the same creature. With this stuff, you would have something that's basically gazing at you, right? Something that's actually waiting for your response, gazing out continuously, continuous autoregressive language models, or CALM. So CALM has come. Remember with Obama years ago, change has come. CALM has come. And I suspect that this is already being tested in the big labs internally, that they probably do have a version of their models that are now able to continuously gaze, continuously think. And hey, that's the future. It's starting to feel like 2026. Remember these random live streams I did at the start of the pandemic in 2020, very beginning of the pandemic. I said by 2030, everything's going to be different. This is the start of a whole, whole series of catalysts that bounce off of each other and then intensify. And then the output you can't even predict. This is what I said back in 2020. Just seeing the rapid, increase in computer stuff with at the same time everybody's stuck at home or everybody's on lockdown. I saw, oh, this is going to mutate civilization. Sure enough, we were right? That's when crypto really came in. I don't know if Bitcoin would have reached $100,000 a coin or whatever it reached last year. Don't think it would have hit that if we didn't have 2 years, everybody stuck at home reading about central banks with nothing else to do other than trade crypto. It was a special moment. But this is 1,000 times bigger than crypto. Just humans shuttling money back and forth using a blockchain instead of some rectangles of paper. It's a very trivial advancement, if it's an advancement at all. You know, these people who just watched the Bitcoin price for the last year. Hey, life is about, changing and adapting. And if all you've been doing is watching the blockchain for the last year, you've missed the 190% jump in silver. Far outstrip gold. I think gold is up, 70 or 80% over the same time period. So you can't say that what's happening in silver is just an inflation hedge, because it's not, right? Otherwise, gold would have gone up just as much, in my opinion. Not advice. But yeah, silver up 190% over the last year. That tells me something. And that's that the world is starting to position for this AI future, because you need silver in the data centers. But yeah, so we nailed silver, absolutely nailed it. And this SRAM stuff, I was kind of out there in the cold for a while. People are saying, where are you getting this from? Are you just some LARPer? Why are you saying that SRAM will have anything to do with AI? Why are you saying that it's going to power drones and that militaries would be interested in it? Well, as of last week, again, U.S. Department of War has opened a proof of concept agreement with this particular chip maker. Hey, total vindication. I can't guarantee the eventual success of SRAM. I just see it as probabilistic, right? That once things like CUDA can be duplicated in hours for totally new hardware, it can be done in hours versus months. I just see it as inevitable. And DRAM right now is necessary in the current models. You need a lot of DRAM. It's all fascinating, though. It's just an echo of crypto. It's crypto, but 1,000 times bigger. What do I mean by that? It's exactly the same thing in terms of what's happening. You have this Deus Ex Machina drop of code base that nobody expected, right? So January 2009, Bitcoin goes live. This unknown genius, Satoshi Nakamoto, who's totally not Jack Dorsey. This total genius comes along, launches Bitcoin fair and square, and then at first people scramble to get some, right? They mine it on their desktops, even on their laptops in many cases, and people are able to earn whole coins per day just from running the Bitcoin algorithm. And then it gets too competitive, and the hash rate increases, and you get this gold rush of people building ASICs, building these application-specific chips, and then selling it to others. So a wild amount of money has been made in chips, not only Bitcoin-specific chips, just in general, right? The computer revolution, computer science is powered by hardware. It's not software, it's powered by hardware. And very few people understand that, which is part of Intersignal's advantage, I think. Part of our advantage is we see firsthand that you need machines to make this work. It doesn't actually happen in the cloud. When you pay $20 a month and you let some company do it for you in the cloud, you're just giving them all your information, and you're just helping their huge AI get a little bit smarter. Nothing wrong with that. We want big public models, but there's also a place for one that's loyal to you, one that can't be knocked off the internet, etc. Happy to take any questions, and then I'm out of here. Yeah, I was just kidding about Jack Dorsey. I don't think it was Dorsey. I definitely do not think it was John McAfee. I think those men are both just early adopters of Bitcoin. They were just visible early adopters. I don't think either of them had the capacity or the egoless nature to launch it in the way they did. And all the arguments I've heard in favor of Jack Dorsey only place him close to Satoshi, right? They probably met at some point if there was a real Satoshi. Good chance they met, which would have made sense, right? Because Dorsey was the head of Square, which is a really big payment processor in California. It makes sense, right? And Square, of course, is one of the earliest to let people buy Bitcoin, to let normies buy it, first of the major platforms. So the theory makes sense. It just doesn't add up when you actually look into the details. I believe Dorsey was very early to Bitcoin, may have even met Satoshi, but it does not make sense that he would have been Satoshi himself. Same deal with McAfee, just way too boisterous a character, just lacks the monk-like nature. If John McAfee were Satoshi, before his death, he would have told us 100 times, and he would have left many Easter eggs to point us in that direction. And he didn't. He didn't do that. So I don't believe it was McAfee. But here, to get back to my point, we've got this similar drop of code base in late 2022. OpenAI releases ChatGPT to the public, and I become one of its first users. I think I was 0.1% in the first 0.1%. So like their first couple 100,000 users, and now they're up to what, 300 or 400 million people weekly. But this code drops out of nowhere. And it's loosely based on the transformer innovation that Google had published, open source. So it's based on this transformer innovation, and it's a generative pre-trained transformer. That's what GPT is. And it's, in effect, the birth of AI. Just like Satoshi was, in effect, the launch of a multi-trillion dollar alternative to the banks and to the dollar. Here, late 2022, 2 years after the first COVID, infections, we get dropped out of nowhere. Here's your free AI. You can just chat. You can just talk to us from that point. And the world is so different now, right? But again, it's very similar to Bitcoin. So I think this is happening much faster than crypto too. I like to say it's 1,000 times more significant. That's just a placeholder, right? It's like, maybe it's 10,000 times, who knows? Point is, very significant. Now, in terms of the speed of development, it's absolutely happening at least 10 times faster. So 3.5 years in AI time is like more than the entire time that cryptos existed, by way of the amount of innovation, right? The fact that this stuff is coming out like Calm, where you have AIs that'll be able to gaze at you through a webcam and actually respond to you the way a human does, instead of the current setup where it looks like it's interacting like a human, but on the back end, that's not what's happening. Some interesting comments here. What's my email address? Here, I'll put a link to our contact page that gets forwarded to me. Anything in that form goes out to multiple people, but I get the email. So feel free to contact me through there. But yeah, that's pretty much it here. Happy to take any final comments or questions. But again, to recap, massive vindication on silver. I don't think anybody else in the podcast world was talking about it back in the spring as an almost sure thing. Here we are, world historic increase in silver prices. And again, if it was purely due to inflation concerns, why hasn't gold done as well? Why hasn't Bitcoin hitched its ride, to the silver rally? Well, because these are two very different things. Bitcoin is not advancing the AI hardware build out, whereas silver is not only advancing it, it's absolutely essential. It's like the unobtainium of AI. A little bit of an exaggeration, but not really. Again, it's not gold, it's silver that's necessary in all these high-end electronics. And most people don't realize that. But what else did I want to get out there? Yeah, again, this inverse Cotard's delusion concept, I don't know why I'm being treated in such a weird way. Maybe we can game this one out. Just bizarre. And I feel like our successes speak for themselves. So you're not going to see a Steve Ballmer style delivery from me. That doesn't mean I'm not excited about Intersignal, our startup. We've already done some pretty unbelievable things. And as I keep saying, when you get multiple local AIs, the intelligence multiplies because they're able to bounce ideas off of each other. They're able to fact check each other, improve each other's theses, as they like to call their ideas. They get to improve a thesis and then pass it to me, pass it to the human. I give my feedback, and then it goes around one more time, and you get something that's almost like a bank analyst quality thought process, and I can either act on it or not. But that's how we found this chip maker, was through asking our AI systems to build a list of companies to screen, and one by one, eliminating the ones that weren't doing what we think is necessary. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Again, contact form if you need to send me anything. And that's it. Enjoy the weekend.